Welcome to a very special edition of the podcast, the very last one for 2023. Let me just say that Justin and I have thoroughly enjoyed recording and sharing these podcasts with you, and we look forward to many more in 2024. We already have a full calendar of guests scheduled for the month of January. At the end of the day, we do these for you, the All Things MSP community. So let us know what you want to see on the podcast in 2024. From Justin and myself, thank you so much for listening, and we wish you a very happy and successful 2024.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the All Things MSP podcast. I'm your host, Justin Esgar, wanting to wish you and your family happy holidays and a happy new year. Hope everybody is safe, warm, comfortable. You get all the tech toys that you wanted this holiday season. Today's episode is a best of from the last couple of months of shows. Real quick from my heart and Eric's to just say thank you for being a subscriber and listening in the comments and the interactions that we have together in Facebook and on the YouTubes and all the other things. Thank you so much for being a subscriber. I guarantee you better things are coming next year. We'll try. The theory for like black hole math or something like that. Like my neighbors across the street came and asked my wife if I had like a mental breakdown. Like there was like this much crap happening all over this. And then it was at that point I started investing in whiteboards. So right now we're calling this the All Things MSP podcast with Justin Esgar, kind of like how the Daily Show with Trevor Noah. But we had some other titles, and we're going out to the audience today because it's episode 1, and we're going to keep it raw, we're going to keep it rough. We want to know what you guys think this podcast should be as you listen more. Don't make a decision now, because right now it's called the Don't Listen to This podcast. But we also have the My Life's a Mess Right Now podcast, My Kid is Sick, Why Are We Doing This podcast, and Don't Start a Podcast. All of these are legit names that we came up with 7.5 minutes ago as we started recording, because that's the situation that we're in. We will eventually get to topics that are important. News, things are happening in the world.
Yeah,
right?
And people need to know.
And people need to know. Technology, it exists, how we're working right now. We'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
Episode 2, Origin Story. I was bit by a spider. All right. I typically don't curse when I do interviews. And I was on an interview with the Mac Admins podcast, and I had said something that I didn't realize they were recording. And I said, I get called out a lot for being brash. And my answer to that is, F you, I'm from New York.
Live from New York, it's Saturday night!
Going forward, we're going to be talking about stuff that really matters to you as an MSP, different topics, different points of view from different pieces of the channel, right? And we really thought that you guys deserve to know who the idiots are that are talking about this stuff. So that's what this episode is about, and it makes a perfect episode too, right? Because nobody listens to the first 3 episodes anyway, so we're just filling time. No, not really. Radio Shack color computer was my first computer, 4K,
Nice.
cassette tape.
Wait, let's pause for a second. You said 4K for the youngsters in the room. He doesn't mean 4K like we talk about 4K today.
That's true.
He means kilobytes.
4 kilobytes of RAM. What you and I probably both have at least 16, 32 in the computers on our desk.
I'm rocking 32 gigs.
See? and we're talking about 4K,
Yeah.
kilobytes, megabytes, gigabytes. That's
Can you go further? Wait, can you go further?
well,
What comes
terabytes,
after gigabytes? Terabytes. What comes after terabytes?
petabytes.
What comes after petabytes?
That I don't know.
No one knows.
And so that's kind of my origin story. I did not get bit by a spider. Now, maybe I opened some kind of tomb or old dusty computer at some point and maybe, inhaled some kind of magic dust. But other than that, maybe that's where I get my allergies from.
When I was 5 years old, I came home from a trip with my mom, and my dad had bought an Apple IIc computer, and it was sitting on the dining room table, and it was like $15,000 or something ridiculous like that, right? And I was immediately fell in love with it. I was playing games on it. I was trying to figure out if the hollow apple or the solid apple, which bucket the apples have to go into, all these things. I remember getting Basic magazine, and like the centerfold was like a list of code you can type into the computer and like spit something out. It was amazing. Print shop. There was one where my favorite game was like, you used to be able to take the Muppets and make a story with the Muppets, and it would do like a little animation on the screen. Like, it was amazing. I had my bar mitzvah, and my parents had bought me a Mac LC2. And this is one of my favorite stories. This school got Microsoft Word, and it came on 14 diskettes. That's how the installer worked. You would pop a disk in, pop a disk out, pop a disk in, pop a disk out. And so when you first install it, it asks, what's your name? And so I typed Justin Esgar, and what's your initials? JE. Not knowing what was going to happen, I installed it on my computer at home. Well, then the teacher at school was like, hey, you seem to know what you're doing. Can you install this on all the other computers? I said, sure. And I made my rounds. Now, for the next 9 years, anytime you launch Microsoft Word, it said registered to Justin Esgar Virtual Computers. I was 13 years old when that happened.
So my early entrepreneurial story was in high school. I think it was our physics teacher. We had this brand new science building that had really terrible acoustics. And so in order to improve the acoustics in his classroom, he was trying to string together lots and lots of empty egg cartons to create a sound dampening,
Okay. Yeah.
field.
Kind of like what I have on my walls here. Yeah.
Yeah. Except you're using the right stuff. So anyway, at the time I was working for a grocery store, and I could buy sleeves of 300 clean empty egg cartons.
Nice.
So I bought a sleeve of those for like, I don't know, $20. Sold them for $1 a piece. So I turned $20
To the other kids.
$300 to the other kids
Nice.
because he was giving us extra credit, and you could get up to, I think it was up to 10 points of extra credit
Nice.
on
I like
your
this.
final grade for each, one.
This is possibly the least interesting podcast on the planet.
Ladies and gentlemen, all the way from his podcast to ours, it's Mr. Paul Green. Paul, how are you, man?
I'm great. Thank you so much for getting me on. This is already. It's just hearing you talk about the weather like you're British. What's wrong with you, Justin? You live in New York, Introducing a podcast with talking about the weather. That's what British people do. What's going on?
What's going on is I watch a lot of British television. Taskmaster, 8 out of 10 Cats Us Countdown, Off Menu Podcast with Ed Gamble and James Acaster. These are like in my like normal rotation.
Yeah, these are very British comedies as well. I'm impressed.
Yeah.
I was actually talking to a partner, I think it was yesterday, and he said, "Oh, it's lovely outside." And he was describing the most dismal day. And I forget where he was. He was somewhere in the West Midlands.
I also only know one thing in Japanese, which is Iyo Tenki desu ne, which means it's nice weather outside. So like I have a theme going.
I like this. And I thought we were here to talk about like technology and stuff like that, but let's not worry about that. Let's make this the weather podcast.
ATMSP stands for All Things Massachusetts State.
All Things meteorological.
I had it and I lost it. And I'm sure plenty of our listeners know all the Marvel and Doctor Who movies. I'm actually really excited for. What is it with Doctor Who having like a 9-month waiting period in between episodes? We could talk about that later.
Well, because they have
So-
to
Yeah,
film
it's,
it.
I will give you an answer. It's because the BBC doesn't have any money, and this new Doctor Who that they're doing this year, they've actually got into bed with Disney Plus, and Disney Plus has given them like $10 million. They've literally just given them tons of cash. So, and they're creating something called the Whoniverse. This is their version of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. See, we've been talking about weather. We're now talking about Doctor Who. This is possibly the least interesting podcast on the planet. No offense, Eric.
No. It's the most interesting podcast in all of time and space. See what I did there?
We already have the topic up on the screen.
Yeah, let's start it off. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the All Things MSP podcast. I'm your host, Justin Esgar. With me always is my good friend and Cuties and Halo supporter, Mr. Eric Anthony. Don't buy him Pumas or Adidas until we figure out which ones are the non-Nazi shoe. And if you don't know what that means, that part didn't get made into the episode, and you'll have to ask one of us at facebook.com/group/allthingsmsp. So today, my friend, we're talking about how likely channel partners are to raise managed service prices in the next 6 months. This is a post, I believe it's in the group right now. And the question really comes down to is, with the economy the way it is and things happening, because this episode, no matter when it drops, it'll probably be in 2023, unless you're listening to this in 2025 and listening to our back catalog, which means A, we made it really, really well and we're raking in that podcast money, or B, you have nothing better to do but listen to old episodes of podcasts, or C, this is the only thing that survived a nuclear winter. For new customers, however, I believe in the Gary Vaynerchuk, every new customer gets a new price until you hit your cap model. Right? So, Eric, do you know this model?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I'm a huge Gary V fan.
If anybody knows Gary Vee and wants to have him on the All Things MSP podcast, please, absolutely, make that happen. For those who don't know what we're talking about, basically, every new customer you bring in, your price should go up $5. And you get to the point where people start turning you away because your price is too high, and that's when you know you've gone too far. And also, even if you're break fix, the second you sell any sort of monthly recurring tool to a client, you're an MSP. You might be doing a break fix time and materials pay per hour model, but the second you slap an RMM tool on there, just so that way you can monitor that computer, I hate to break it to you, you're an MSP. Welcome to the family. Coffee and donuts are in the back. And again, I'm going to get into trouble for saying this, but like so many MSPs I know, you only became an MSP because you're good at technology. You're not good at business. Be better at business. This is a business question. This isn't a technology question. Are you going to raise your rates? Everybody wants to keep customers. Everybody wants to be the best. Everybody wants, my customers love me. They'll never leave me. They're going to leave you, right? So you need to make up for that. You need to be able to handle that. And so it grinds my gears about that.
I get it, right? Now, first of all, I want to apologize for all of the lifestyle MSPs that I just offended. Because
what about me? You don't apologize for me also?
Because you can apologize for yourself. You're a big boy.
I'm sorry.
But if you're happy doing it, and that's a key point, right? If you're happy doing it, I'm not telling you you're doing anything wrong, because if you're happy, you're doing life well. Okay?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of stress. There's a lot of, which I just had to bleep myself and put the emoji over my face, to deal with for that amount of money per year, when you could certainly go and get a decent IT admin job that you can turn off at 5 or 6 p.m. and live a nice life.
So I got our friend Mark Copeman's book.
Yeah,
and
I have mine.
Yeah, we've talked about this. I'm quoting this book, which is really good. I like that I'm quoting here, right? I'm on page 205. And I talk about mergers and acquisitions. And this is a really funny story, which is that somebody had posted on LinkedIn about the book and said, "Oh my God, Justin, you and I, like, we have the same book recommendation, software recommendation." So I have in here, my book recommendation is oversubscribed by Daniel Priestley, and my software recommendation was Halo PSA. And I scroll back a couple pages, I'll go back a couple pages, and I see this person had the exact same book recommendation, software recommendation. The problem is I've never read Oversubscribed by Daniel Priestley, and I wasn't using Halo when I gave Mark my suggestions. So clearly there's a typo. Someone like accidentally put this other guy's book suggestion and software suggestion in my section because I didn't know that. But you know what? I love Halo now, and I've never read Oversubscribed, but maybe I will. What page are you? 106?
I think it's 166.
166. 165. 166. Here we go. Invoice as often as possible. Eric Anthony, All Things MSP.
Change
One of
my
the
business.
secrets I discovered while running my MSP was to invoice as often as possible. I'm going to read this like as if it's a sultry sex story. Especially for the smaller MSPs, the tendency to invoice once a month. And this has become a huge issue the moment you begin to hire employees because there's a gap between work done, the payroll paid, the work invoiced, and the payment received. Sorry. I can't keep going. But we're going to kind of dive in a little bit today about, what does it mean for a client of yours to be in compliance? What does it mean for you to be in compliance? What does it mean for your clients to be in compliance? The problem is that it just it's trickled down compliance. It's Reagan appliances. This isn't a joke. This is a good joke for anyone who's in their like mid 40s who gets this Reagan joke. But if you're younger than I am, or older, if you're younger than I am, just giggle.
They've left me on red quite a few times.
We feel the same way about Liquid Death. # still not a sponsor. I actually ran out, for those who are paying attention, I ran out of Liquid Death, and I'm still drinking some other brand, Simply Bubbles. Simply Bubbles. Can't even say it. It's so dry.
Well, because it's hard to say in 8-bit.
Oh, it's killing me. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the All Things MSP podcast. I am your host, Pixelated Justin, if you're watching on YouTube. And with me always is my good friend, podcast producer extraordinaire, co-host, friend, pirate, and the man who's much clearer because his streaming services are better, Mr. Eric Anthony. Eric, what's up, buddy?
Well, and I'm the one who's always worried about, how my internet connection is. So much so that I've actually prepaid for the company that's building fiber out here, so that as soon as it comes to my neighborhood, I'll be one of the first people to have it.
I don't think my problem is my ISP. I think honestly, I need to call, the cobbler has no shoes. I need to sit down and like look at my wiring and figuring it out. I've been having random problems for the last couple of weeks. And even though we record like 9 a day, this is the first one that's gotten a little blocky. Yeah. So if you're listening to this on the in your car, like you should be, and then you're like, hey, I wonder what's going on. I want to watch it on YouTube. There's a good chance this one's never making it to YouTube.
Or it just might because it's funny.
Blocky, Justin. It's fine. No one watches the YouTube for me.
It's 8-bit, Justin.
And as we know, if you're paying attention, you listen to this in order. Justin loves a good 8-bit. Trevor's probably just hanging out in the back, fixing, POS systems and such like that. Well, Trevor, thanks so much for being here. I'm Justin. That's Eric. Don't forget to join the All Things MSP Facebook group, facebook.com/group/allthingsmsp. Check us out on YouTube, but not this episode, youtube.com/@allthingsmsp. Like and subscribe on all of your podcasting platforms. Leave a review. Leave a 1-star review. Tell us what kind of tattoo Trevor should get next. Maybe should it be the All Things MSP logo? I'm down with that. That's it for us. Bye!
Thank you for watching this best of episode. And from your host, Justin Esgar, and myself, producer Eric, please join us for an exciting 2024 as we bring you even more helpful information and hopefully entertaining content. If there's something or someone you'd like to see on the podcast, let us know in the comments or DM us on LinkedIn or Facebook. And for one last time in 2023, as Justin says, we promise we'll do better next time.
From your host, Justin Esgar, and myself, thank you for listening to the All Things MSP podcast. Join the All Things MSP Facebook group or follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. The All Things MSP podcast is a BizPow LLC production, and even though we drink a lot of it, this podcast is still not sponsored by Liquid Death. And now that you've watched that mess of a podcast, don't forget to watch one of these and go ahead and click that subscribe button so you get to watch more. Yeah, just go ahead and do it. Click the button and then watch one of the other videos. I'm watching.